I tell like a lot of young girls this that are like going to get ready to college. You can hang. And like that's what I saw like in the fall. I wasn't sure my role was going to be coming in, but like I trust you. If you're brought into these programs, you can hang. You just got to believe in it and believe in yourself and like believe that your coaches brought you here for this reason because we're all recruited to like hang with the group. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So just believe in that and actually like trying to see that with your own eyes and help that to help you believe yourself too. It was just kind of like, okay, I can like do this and like it's going to be okay.
Welcome to the Car Ride Home podcast. I'm excited today to be joined by an Alliance alumni, Teagan Kavan, who just finished up her freshman year at the University of Texas. Teagan, you wrapped up quite the accolades here. We have top 10 finalists for National Freshman of the Year, Big 12 Freshman of the Year, World Series All-Tournament Team, through a complete game shutout in your first ever World Series game, which we will talk about that experience, but formerly an Alliance All-Star, also competed in the AFCS top 3 finisher last year and one of our player advisory committee members. Teagan, welcome to the Car Ride Home.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We always start, it's Car Ride Home, so we start with the really important thing. Number 1, you're in charge of the music. What are we listening to on the Car Ride Home?
Oh, Taylor Swift.
You're a Swiftie?
Easy. Yes.
How many concerts have you been to?
I've been to 2. I went to the Eras Tour in Kansas City last summer. Hopefully these little listeners enjoy this because I know there will be some Swifties.
You have, when we talk about the Car Ride Home, I know as an athlete, I spent tons of time going to and from practice and tournaments. If I asked you, what's the most memorable car ride home? What's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
I think it's like 2. I feel like when you think of like the car ride home, there's like a negative connotation and a positive connotation. Like it's kind of like with your parents, like at times, like sometimes softball just doesn't go well and it's just part of life. And so like, then like when you're hard on yourself too, and you go back in the car, it's kind of like when it all hits you because you're trying to be like tough on the field if you don't have your best game. So I think like, honestly, the conversations I'd had with my mom, and she was always so supportive of me, but like, it was never like I was like beating myself in the car ride home. It was always like, well, like, how can we learn from this? Like, how can we get better? So I think that's what sticks out to me is just like the growth that happens on that car ride home. It's just kind of when it all like you put it into perspective for you and like take away what you learned from the game and then like how you can move forward. And even though a lot of times I never wanted to answer my mom because just like they're hard questions and like you just don't know sometimes, like it ultimately helped me a lot.
No, you're a pitcher, so bless your parents' hearts. They are parents of a pitcher. What was that like from your parents? And was there a difference of the conversation that you had with mom versus you had with dad?
Yeah, so my mom was a pitcher too, and she did not want me to be a pitcher. I started like throwing in my backyard when I was younger, and she kind of I guess now I don't know that she didn't actually want me to be, but she always told me she didn't want me, or she told people that she didn't want to, like, she just knew how hard it was being a pitcher herself. And so she tells me, I don't remember this, but that she left the field one day at like one of my games. She was like going to grab something from the car. And when she came back, like I was on the field pitching. And like that was kind of that. So she kind of didn't have a say, but she was my first pitching coach and she was just always there. And she knew like the right times for me to like get a new coach and like learn from somebody new because she knew when like I stopped listening to her and that I needed to still like grow from that spot. So she's always been there and like she just gets it. And so she's really easy to bounce ideas off and just bounce any sort of feelings off on her just because she gets it. But and then my dad, on the other hand, like, I mean, he played a few sports in high school, but like, obviously, like, never played softball. I don't think he played baseball. So like, just kind of knew, and like, he just always believed in me. And so like, even after like rough games or just like even good games, it's kind of like my dad just was here to like have fun with it too and just like support me. So it's like a good balance of like they're both there to support me, but in different ways.
I love that. It's been really fun for me to listen to different stories about the car ride home, and it usually comes down to balance. It might be dad is a little bit tougher, mom's telling me I look great, or vice versa in this one. But I think that balance of parents and the role they play is super important. I want to go back to the beginning, and you kind of already alluded to it with pitching, but go back to the earliest days of softball when you were first introduced. What did that look like? Where were you? What was your first team name? Were you playing rec ball? Like, what did that set the stage for
Yeah.
us?
So I played rec ball at West Des Moines, my hometown, and I had a pretty big like league for it. And I don't remember if my first team was the Cubs or was the Bunnies, but my Bunnies team was like pink, and we'd always have like a little, kind of like a little drive-through like carnival thing, and like we'd wear like a little bunny headbands and stuff. But I think the Cubs was actually my first team, and that was coach pitch, and then Bunnies I think was when maybe we moved to like kid pitch. But yeah, I don't know how I really got into it. I think I just got into it from my mom, and my brother played baseball, and so I just, like, loved it. I think at the beginning, I was a little conflicted, but I played basketball, and I also, did a few triathlons and gymnastics, but gymnastics, I couldn't take my hands off the ground, and I ended up being, like, really tall for it,
You're really
so
tall.
yeah, yeah, but I never tried volleyball, which I wish I kinda did now that I'm tall, but anyway, it all worked out. But I was kinda conflicted for a while on, like, what I wanted to do and what sport, and, like, everyone just, like, encouraged me to, like, play basketball and softball my whole life, and then when I got to my freshman year of, high school is when I just chose to play softball. But, yeah, I was kinda conflicted on, like, what one I loved the most for a long time, and then softball just kinda took over. But, yeah, the Bunnies in West Des Moines, Iowa, or the Cubs in West Des Moines, Iowa, with my mom being the coach pitch, and I always used to get upset because my mom would throw, like, way harder to me
Of
than
course.
everybody else.
Of course
Yeah.
she would. That's how it goes.
Um,
That's,
yeah.
a lot of questions we get to are, when did you start specializing? When did you say, "All right, I wanna go this route?" Was it something you brought to your parents and said, "Hey, I'm ready to go into this travel ball world?" Because I feel like a lot of kids, they start on the bunnies, right? They start playing rec, and then they start playing all-stars, and they get into the tournament. Do you remember it's not that long ago, but do you remember what that moment was of like, "Hey, I wanna try this, like, tournament out," and then when did you start
Yeah.
to get really serious?
Yeah, so I played up, majority of my whole life. Like, when I started to play, like, for, like, a club team, I was, like I instead of playing AU, I played, like, 10U, and then I would vice versa. I was just, like, up a division for until I was about, like, 14, and then when I was 14, I was obviously the youngest on my team, and I was not this was when I decided, like, I really wanted to pitch, and I was just, like, not getting pitching time. Like, I was just, like, too young. I wasn't strong enough yet, and I just never pitched, and it, like, made me upset because like, that was all I wanted to do. And so, I remember that being, like, up until, like, college decisions and stuff like, that was, like, the hardest decision of, like, my softball career was just, like, deciding to take a step back and to go back to my age division to actually get the time that I needed to pitch. And that's just something I remember so vividly because I remember, like, having such tough conversations, and, like, I was scared of it because I was so comfortable in the team I was on, and I also didn't want it to, like, look bad of, like, me going back and, like, it's kinda like taking a step back. I didn't want it to seem like I was, like, gonna, like, lose anything from it. So, but ultimately, it was, like, the best decision, and that's how I came to Iowa Premier because we found a new team, and so it all just kinda worked out, and ultimately, like, now looking back on it, like, that decision kinda, like, wrote my story and, like, my future of my softball.
That's awesome. I was gonna ask specifically about Iowa Premier, 'cause I know you played in the organization for a while, and I will never forget the quote last year when you guys went on a fantastic run in the AFCS and you made it into the Final Four, and we had 2 Midwest teams, and there's a quote where you say, "I'm just a girl from Iowa, and we're really proud to represent that." What does that mean, even now, to being on the stage that you're on from a national perspective, World Series? What does it mean to you to represent Iowa in the Iowa Premier?
I think it's so cool, especially, like, coming home and just, like, seeing the impact that I have on these little girls, and, like, I don't care what anyone says, like, if you dream it, you can do it, and that's for anyone. You're from any state, any part of the country, like, you can do it, and so I think it just shows that it doesn't matter where you're from, and that if you work it just as hard, like, Iowa breeds Iowa breeds great athletes too, and I know we can see that over the country. But, yeah, I think it's just really cool that no matter where you're from, if you have the support system and you have the belief in yourself and the belief in people around you, that you can do it wherever you come from, and then but it's really cool to come back now and, like, just be around my community and, like, just like give back now with like lessons and stuff and like see the impact that I have on these little girls is like, it's really cool. It's like bigger than like, that's bigger to me than like the field sometimes.
It's really cool. Well, you said it. I mean, you even played basketball in Iowa. There's
Mhm.
quite a big superstar right now in not even just women's sports, all
Yeah.
sports, in Caitlin Clark.
Mhm.
And she called you out. She said she had a neighbor. She watched the World Series championship games because her neighbor from West Des Moines, or I think same neighborhood. So you got to tell, did you
Yeah.
know
It's like
Caitlin?
yeah, so I went to high school. She's 4 years older than me, and so we were in she was a s or yeah, she would be a senior when I was, coming going to be a freshman. So that first summer, freshman year was when I still played basketball, and so she took me to, I think, like, a couple basketball practices at the beginning of summer, and so that's really, like, the most I remember of her, but it's really cool just, like, watching her, like, every Friday, like, get better every single year. Like, I literally remember, like, as a freshman or her freshman year 'cause, my brother was in high school at the time, so he playing basketball, so, like, when she started her freshman year playing, and then I would go to the games every Friday for my brother, like, she dominated freaking from a freshman, and so, like, seeing her growth, but also, like, now and, like, just the person that she's grown into too, I think is really cool. Like, everyone can see how she's such a great role model. But she has a younger brother in my grade that I know pretty well too, so it's really cool that I don't know. Yeah, we're from the same area, but we're actually from, like, same neighborhood too. She just lives down the street, so it's cool. Just like I said, like, no matter where you're from can happen, and, like, we started in the same spot, so it's really cool.
It's pretty cool. Well, that's quite the neighborhood of talent
Yeah.
right there, I will say. So I wanna talk I remember and mine was many, many years ago, but I remember the freshman fall being probably one of the hardest just life transition that I went through, no matter people will tell you that too, but I'm curious from your perspective, you just wrapped up your freshman year at the University of Texas. Take me back. How was it? What was the biggest differences for you? What were some of the biggest struggles that you had as a freshman?
I think overall the transition was better than I thought it was gonna be. I don't know if I just assumed that it was gonna be really rough or not, but I think maybe going far away from home, like, at first kind of thought that maybe I would, like, struggle with that a little bit. I always knew I'd be fine, but it ended up being, like, so much better than I thought, and I really, like, honestly didn't, like, get homesick much, but I think that's just, like, a testament to, like, the people I was surrounded with and, like, the support that we have, and I think for me, like, we're just always busy. Like, that was probably the biggest thing, honestly, is just, like, how sometimes I feel like I was more tired and, like, more, like, dead in the fall than I was, like, in season, and I think I mean, obviously, prepares us for season, that's probably why we're able to, like, go so far in the season, but I just remember, like, the workouts and, like, even if we're just individuals, like, we're just, like, really tired and, like, really, like, enduring of us as, like, athletes and just, like, school on top of it, starting school, but we have, like, such great support staff for, like, our, academics too that just really helped, like, the transition and just make it really easy. But, definitely, like, the girls and just the people you surround yourself with is kinda what gets you through it, and looking back on it, like, the transition was easy, but, like, now I think about, like, the first year of fall, and I think it's all, like, a blur. Like, I think I was just, like, so busy and there was, like, so much going on that, I was joking with, like, a few of the girls, like, on the team that's, like, the older girls, it's like, I don't even remember if I, like, talked to you in the fall or, like, if we even, like I don't know. It was just, like it's just, like, such a blur because like, you're trying to, like, get to know everybody, and then now the girls you're, like, super close with, I'm like, I don't even remember how we, like, started our relationship, and I just think it's funny now looking back on it, but it definitely was, like it definitely was really fun, and I think it just showed, like I tell, like, a lot of young girls this that are, like, going to get ready to college, like, you can hang, and, like, that's what I saw, like, in the fall. Like, I wasn't sure my role was gonna be, like, coming in, but, like, I trust you. Like, if you're brought into these programs, like, you can hang. You just gotta believe in it and believe in yourself and, like, believe that your coaches brought you here for this reason because we all can hang. We're all recruited to, like, hang with the group, otherwise we wouldn't be here, so just, like, believing that and actually, like, trying to see that with your own eyes and help you believe yourself too. That's my biggest takeaway was just kinda like, "Okay, I can, like, do this." And, like, it's gonna be okay.
That's such a great point because especially at University of Texas, you guys have an incredible pitching staff, and we're
Yeah,
probably every single one of you could be an ace on top 25 programs.
yeah.
What was that like? Do you remember that first week? And I don't know if you guys had individuals or it was team practice, but were there different emotions? Were there ever moments that you doubted yourself or you felt pretty good going in there and working with that staff?
I think I felt good. I think at first I think when we started, like, really, like, scrimmaging and, like, we could see how, like, good, like, everybody was kind of, like, when I was kinda like, "Oh, I don't," I knew that, like, I knew I was gonna, like, eventually, like, get pitching time, and, like, I knew that was gonna happen, but I think it was kind of just, like, I don't know where I fit in, and, like, I was trying to do that thing where, like, we have 5 pitchers, I was trying to do that thing where, like, "Oh, where do I sit on, like, 1 through 5?" And, like, I think it's just, like, not about that, and, like, you can see with our staff, like, it's just, like, it's not about that, like, we don't have, like, 1 true ace, and I think that's great because, like, I can't imagine how hard it is to, like, scout us for, like, other teams because, like, who's gonna throw? Like, I we don't even know sometimes. So, like, I think that's the cool thing about it, but also just, like, not trying to put too much pressure in the situation and just, like, doing what you can for the team. Because like, when your name's called, like, just deliver in the ways you can, and then honestly, like, take some pressure off that, like, if it's not your best day, like, someone's gonna have your back. And so, I think the biggest thing for me was I tried to just do the numbers game of, like, where I am sitting, like, am I, like, the 3rd or the 2nd or whatever, and I think that's what kinda, like, made me get to in my head about it instead of just, like, going out there and, like, doing what I know how to do and what, like, the coaches believe that I can do. So, I think it also helps too that, like, I had a different, look. I think that's what gave me some confidence too, is that, like, we didn't really have a girl on the team that threw, like, a majority of rise balls a lot of the time, so, like, for an up zone, and so I think that gave me a lot of confidence too that, like, I could find, like, a place for me to fit within the staff.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did you throw the changeup before, or is that something that you really fine-tuned and worked on this past year?
The changeup I'm throwing now, I learned, like, a couple weeks before season started, and then I had, like, a changeup in yeah, and, like, travel ball and stuff, but it wasn't, like, great. But, yeah, it was just, like, a couple weeks before I had, like, a decent changeup, I thought, uh, because we changed it up. I've changed my changeup up so many times, but I had a decent one, like, in the fall and, like, it worked, but then, like, this one, we just kinda played around with it, and me and Coach White, and, like, just worked really well, and I hope this one never stops working.
It's pretty good there. It's interesting though,
Yeah.
right? Here you are, you're 18, 19 years old at that point, and you've been throwing it one way. Do you think it was more how he taught it or just that you had more time to spend on it or seeing results? What do you think, like, really clicked with making that adjustment?
I think for me, like, when I try to, like, teach girls too on change ups, like, it's, like, all about feel and, like, if you can actually feel, like, what your hand is doing, and so, like, the way I throw it, I guess I can just, like, feel the pitch, like, a lot better, and I actually, like, know when I'm in the right position and not to throw it, so I just know how to, like, get there, but I think just, like, honestly, just, like, not being afraid of trying it out. I think, like, a lot of girls, like, think it's like for me, when I started to learn my, like I had a different rise ball, like, growing up, and then when I went to Bill Hillhouse, my pitching coach, like, prior to getting to Texas, we switched my rise ball, and, like, when that happened, I was, like, so scared, like, I remember, like, crying in the car, like, after one of my lessons and being like, "I don't know if I can do this," and it's like my mom's like, "Teagan, it's the first lesson of you doing this," and so, just, like, not being afraid to try it because ultimately, like, it might be the thing that works for you, so I've probably had, like, 5 or 6 change-up grips, like, my whole life, and I had now my 6th is the one that worked for me, like, couple weeks before season, so I think just not being afraid to, like, try new things, and if, like, it doesn't work, then, like, you don't have to do it, but you never know, like, it might work, so and that goes for, like, any aspect of the game, like, just don't be afraid to try it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that story too, and it's super important, I think, for alliance members. I'm curious in watching from afar and watching you on TV, you played in some tough places and got I know Texas is going to the SEC now, but you guys play at LSU, the series against
Yeah.
Texas A&M and the Super Regionals, and then obviously the World Series. What were those moments like as a freshman when you have these crazy crowds, some are cheering against you, it's loud, the moment's
Yeah.
big. What were you able to tune it out? Like, what was those experiences like?
So, I started our first, I guess it was our first yeah, LSU, I guess, was the end of our kind of preseason, and, we traveled there for I think it was on, like, a Tuesday after our Houston series, I believe, yeah, and I started that game, and I think that was, like, such a learning experience for me because, like, obviously, like, look at the stats, like, in our game, like, it didn't go well, and I was, like, taken out. I think it was in the first, but looking back, I felt, like, horrible. Like, my career was over, like, after that game. I was like, "This is it, like, this is all." But I think just, like, looking back on it and I love to journal, and so, like, journaled about it, and I was like, "It's not like a bad career. Like, your career has just started. Like, it's really just a bad game, and ultimately, like, it's probably just a bad couple of pitches. Like, we just make it so much bigger and, like, make it feel like the world is ending." But going back into that, I think it was like they have a tough place to play at. Like, their fans are great, they have a lot of support, and they had a bunch of, grade schools, like, come and, like, little kids come for, like, a field trip, and so it was cool to, like, see all those, like, kids, but then, like, obviously, we were target on our back too, and so I think, like, I just kinda made it too big and made the moment too big and felt like I had to, like, be more than what I was, especially since they're, like, a good team and they were undefeated at the time. I think I just tried to do too much, and so it just leads to, like, a couple bad pitches, which doesn't lead to a great outing, and so learning from that, like, at the beginning, I just tried to kind of, like, shove it under the rug and, like, not really think about it because I didn't wanna, like, have those feelings, which was good because, like, I don't wanna, like, ruin my confidence based off of one game, but now that I can look back on it and, like, be proud of the season I had, like, I think that was when I really learned, like, you just gotta calm down and take a deep breath and, like, throw your pitch, like, one at a time. And that's really when I learned that, and then going into, like, our series against A&M and M and the Supers, like, I joked with my team, I'm like, after the game, like, we needed those 4 runs or whatever because I gave up that, like, 3-run home run, and, like, the game can just, like, shift at any time, but, like, making the big pitch in the big moments, that's always what, like, Coach Y talks about, is, like, the big pitch in the big moment. So, like, the big pitch in that big moment was, like, the batters after that, like, how are we gonna get out of this after that? And, like, that's the big pitch. And so just kinda taking a deep breath, and, like, at the World Series, I think I noticed the most that when I was at my best, it was when, like, I was breathing, like, I felt so in control. The second Stanford game, I felt so in control of my breath and just kinda I was more nervous, like, being in the dugout, like, waiting to go, like, back out there and, like, for our team while we were hitting, then, like, once I, like, got in the circle, I was just, like, content and, like, I just, like, felt I was more confident out there, and that was the first time all season that, like, I kind of felt that sense of, like, calmness during the game. 'Cause I get kinda amped up and stuff, and, like, I'm not afraid to say that, like, I'm nervous for every single game, and, like, that's, like and, like, as long as we can control it, like, it's a good thing. And so, that was the first time that I went out there and, like, was, like, just so at ease and so, like, at peace and, like, calm and confident in what I was doing, and that was because I, like, took the time in between each pitch and, like, actually, like, was in control of my breath. So now, like, obviously, like, last couple games we played, like, I'm excited to, like, bring that into next season too, and just, like, use that I learned in those situations. Cause honestly, like, we always talk about it too, like, it's, like, using the crowd to our advantage and, like, we wanna see it, like, everyone wants to talk about, like, bunch of fans that aren't there for us, but, like, at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do about it, and, like, we wanna see the stadium full, like, it's good for our game, and so, like, we still have to the game doesn't know who's gonna win anyway, so we still have to come and play our best no matter the situations in the stands.
I love that. I mean, just so much right there in what you said too and control. I mean, I think of your performance in game 1 of the World Series. I think you're the first freshman to ever do that, to ever throw a complete game shutout. What was it everything you talk about dreaming. I'm sure you dreamed of that
Yeah.
moment of taking the ball in game 1 of the Women's College World
Mhm,
Series with 12,000 fans. Was it everything you
mhm.
thought of? Like, did you get a chance to actually take that all in?
Yeah, Kat told me she after the super regionals, she was like, "I need you to sit there, and when you get there, like, take in, like, the crowd and, like, take it in because have your moment where you can kinda take it all in, and then, like, once you have to play, like, it's go time and we can't really think about it." So that really helps me. I think, like, the day before, I just kinda, like, looked around at everything and, like, took it all in, and then I was able the next day to, like, know that this is real and, like, this is happening, and now I have to go perform. And so It was so cool. I called my mom after the game, or my mom was there, but I, like, called her after the game later that night, and I was like, "When you get home, like, I need you to go through my closet. I have this journal," and I had, like, a bucket list, and it was, like, a couple vacation spots I wanted to go to, and then it was, like, I wanted to, like, play softball in college, and I wanted to go to the World Series, and so, like, looking back on it now, like, I played 1 season of college softball and went to the World Series and played in the title game, and it's just, like, so surreal. Like what you said earlier, like, if you dream it, you can do it, and, like, don't let anyone tell you you can't. Like, no dream is too big, and, like, I'll say that forever. Cause seriously, like and, like, writing it down to me is, like, so important, like, setting goals and writing it down, just, like, solidifying it in your mind, but it was so cool. It was definitely like, probably couldn't have, like, scripted a better first game for me and, like but just, like, knowing my team, like, believed in me and that, like, my coaches, like, putting me out there, like, believed in me for a reason and that, like, if I was gonna go out there, like, I knew in that game too, like, facing, Nyjah that, like, it had to be 1 run might matter and, like, that's what happened in the other game, so, like, just also taking that into account, like, we wanna win this game and, like, there's only certain ways that we can do this against great pitchers, so taking that into it too.
Well, you beat me to it. I was because on the other side was Nyjah Kennedy, National Player of the Year, and he
Yeah.
too Alliance All-Star, but I was curious if, as a pitcher, you take that into consideration. You kinda look across at hey, who's throwing for them, and do you get competitive in a sense? Not that it, you versus her, but does that
Yeah.
help fire you up in a big moment?
Yeah, it definitely does. Reese Atwood, like, really talks to me a lot about that too, like, when we call timeout and stuff, or just in between pitches, like, remember, like, I think it was maybe the 3rd or 4th inning of that first game, or no, more the second game, because I think we got a couple runs earlier on that first game, but the second game when it was, like, 0-0, like, the whole game, she would every time we'd come out and, like, right before we'd break out for the field, she's like, "Just keep us in it, like, keep us in it, we'll pull through. We'll pull through," and I was like, "I know, I know." And so, like, just, like, literally, that was, like, my thought the whole time is, like, whatever it is, like, minimum damage, like, we gotta get this for our team, and, like, that's the way we're gonna win this ball game, like, that's just how it is sometimes. And so, I think, like, in certain times, like, that can put some pressure on us, but for this situation, I just knew it was what needed to be done, and so but yeah, every time, like, even if, like, the people that that infielders and we pulled us in for timeouts and stuff, it's just like, keep us in it," and I'm like, "Oh god," like, there's someone on base, I'm like, "I got us, like, I'll get out of this." And so, just, like, keeping that mindset and just seeing the belief from, like, everybody that's, like, Teagan, if, like, "You can do this, like, we'll have your back." That's what really helps me in, like, those games.
Well, I mentioned, Nyjah's Player of the Year, but right behind her, runner-up, you're throwing to her, and Reese Atwood. I love
One
I know this is me talking about the Longhorns again, but I really enjoy watching her play. A fantastic player. What is it like throwing to her, not just in games, but even working with her in the bullpens? She just seems like such a gamer and great teammate.
Yeah. No, I love Reese. She's always working, like, she's probably one of the hardest workers on our team, if not, like, the hardest worker. She just doesn't take no for an answer, and, like, when she's on the field, like, she's dialed in and, like, locked in and gonna do everything she can. She's super analytical, like, and she just will do anything for the team, and it's just super in tune with the game, and, like, her softball IQ is really high, and she's not afraid to try new things, like I mentioned earlier. But, off the field, like, she's one of my closest friends, and she's, like, goofy and, like, she's really different than she is, like, on the field, like, on TV and stuff. You probably like, she's really intense and really, just, like I know when she talks to me, like, sometimes out there, she's, like, just, like, really intense, and it's, like, a different Reese, but it's, like, what I need, and I like it. And so, it's really cool to see that dynamic of just, like, her off the field and her on the field, but just, like, how hard she works. And, like, I don't know, it's like she just becomes, like, kind of like a different person on the field and, like, how intense and focused she can get, but, like, she works just as hard in practice when she's goofy and messing around sometimes too, so
Pitchers, you always gotta give love to the catcher, right? You gotta take care of them.
Mhm. Yes, she's the best. She knows what I need and, like, always when I come out, like, even if I don't wanna hear it sometimes, she'll tell me what I need to hear, but she's always like, I'm a if we need extra work, like, we'll always go to each other, so it's really nice.
Well, 1 year ago, before the World Series, and before you're playing travel ball. You're playing in the Alliance Pass pitch. You played in the national championship, and you were one of our all-stars. Can you go back to that moment as we're getting ready and we're announcing our team? What was that experience for you like last year as one of our Alliance All-Stars?
It was really cool. It's probably one of the coolest experience of my travel ball, career, but, I mean, I it was like a goal for myself to be on one of the teams, and when it happened, it was just kinda cool, and I was super excited to just play with a bunch of girls, like, from all over and that are going to a bunch of different schools. Because I think it's cool now when I, like, play these girls that, like, when we're going through the line at the end of the game, you kinda have a little, like, like, when you played against each other, and just the relationships that you build from that. I think that's the coolest thing about softball, and the coolest thing about playing, like, travel ball is the relationships that can be built out of things like this. And so it was super cool. And obviously, the platform that we had, it's like a bigger game than our regular travel games. I think it was on like ESPNU, I think last year. So it was really cool to just have that experience too, like going into college and like knowing what it's like playing on like a national stage against some of the best competition. And like the atmosphere was really cool too. Those stands were full, and just the whole media before it. It's like kind of like we did media before the World Series before we played a big game. Like, it all kinda, like, lines up with the stuff we do in college, and so I think it's really cool. It's a cool opportunity, and I'm, like, so grateful that I got to do that to, like, end my travel ball career.
What would you tell if for anybody that's getting ready to go in that game? Is there a piece of advice or maybe, enjoy the moment or what would you tell this year's class of All-Stars?
I would just say, like, embrace it. I know, like, I was really nervous going into it. I mean, you're not really since you're playing a bunch of individuals, like, it's, like, obviously a team, but it's still different than, like, playing a team, and, like, as a pitcher, like, I kinda get sucked up into, like, who am I facing each pitch, and, like, just embrace it. Like, play your game. It's not that deep at the end of the day, like, you're here to, like, have fun and, like, play the game that you already know how to play. And so, just, like, having fun with it and not making it too intense, just enjoying that and, like, taking the time to talk to the girls around you and, like, get to know them, like, that's bigger than the game.
Cool. You were also off the field. You're a member of our player advisory committee, which last year was the first year that we did it and wanted athletes to have a voice and to represent all of the athletes inside the alliance. What did you take away from that experience with the player advisory committee?
I think it was cool, like, meeting I think we met, like, monthly about, just, like, kinda the things that we thought that we were going through personally or that other girls might go through personally or things that might need to change or something. And I think it was cool, like, seeing the camaraderie between girls, but also just that, like, we're all unique individuals, but we all have a lot of the same experiences, and that, like, we have, like, a platform and that we can use it to, like, make the game better for younger kids. So it was really cool to see, like, a bunch of these, like, older girls come together and, like, try to better the game for younger kids, because that's, like, where our future's at, and that's what you're doing the rest of your career is just kind of leaving the game better than you found it. So I think it's really cool to start that as, like, I was a senior in high school and just, like, have that continue on now. But it was just really cool to see, like, come together for, like, a cause of just, like, bettering the game.
Well, now that you've had an entire year, right, away away from travel ball, is there anything you would tell you would tell the pack or you would tell travel ball players, something that you think would help prepare them, whether it's for the next step or even just within their travel ball journey?
Yeah, I would for sure say in general, like, I'm not lying when I say, like, sometimes I miss travel ball. It's fun to play with girls from all around that you played with your whole life, for my case, since I was at the same club for a lot of years. I had some best friends on that team, and, like, I miss it sometimes, and, like, I miss, like, just kind of, like, I mean, it's saying it now, but just, like, the weekends are long, but they're so fun, and, like, you're going to new places and everything, and, like, college is fun too, but, like, sometimes I miss travel ball, and just I would say, like, embrace it, like, embrace the moment you have, and don't be too it's kinda like high school too, like, just I don't know, don't be too quick to, like, wanna get away, like, embrace where you're at right now, and just, like, embrace that, like, you can get better here, and, like, this'll just prepare you. And then also, just advice in general, it's kinda like it's like the way you do anything is the way you do everything, and I think, like, that's something that I, like, live by. My mom asked me what I learned from my freshman year, and that's just kind of that, like, if I'm not giving 110% in school, like, I really can't give that same amount of effort in softball or vice versa. And even like the relationships around me, like I can give 110% softball, but then like if I'm not growing the relationships around me, then like not all going to mesh well. And so just like giving the effort into every single aspect of your life, although it's like tough at times, like it's so rewarding. And so that's just kind of something that like I've started to live by. And I think that it's what helped me get to this position now.
I love that. I love that's great advice too for off the field as well. Do you have a I typically do rapid fire, but I'm kind of mixing in the questions for you. Do you have a memory in travel ball that really sticks out to you that's maybe at the forefront when you think of your Iowa Premier days or anything that what comes to mind?
I first think of when I was like uh 10 years old or I think it was like 11, when like my first ever tournament with them and when Greg, my coach, came out and like kind of like told me like it was a tight game and he's like, you got to put the team on your back like right now. And I think that's just kind of like, I mean, he's a tough guy and he's a tough coach at times, but like it's just like is what I needed. And honestly, like although I was young, like it's kind of the truth on a pitcher sometimes. And so that's the first memory that kind of comes to mind is just like the expectations that I was held to at Premier really prepared me for college now because the expectations are as high as ever. But then another one was the AFCS last year when we made it to I think it was the semifinals. Yeah, when we made it there. Or no, when we got like the Elite Eight hats, I think was when it was really cool just because like I we always talked about like wanting to like win this national championship for the team and like this was the group to do it. But I think like we all kind of realized like then that like we could do it and it was like with this group of girls. And so it was cool. Like obviously we lost in semis, but just the whole day was cool and I don't know, just it was like the best way to end my career. And I think like the way the tournament was set up and like the all-star game with that, it was just like a super cool way to end my career and then end it with like the girls that are all going to play all over. But it was just super cool, and I just loved the whole experience of that tournament. It's, like, probably one of my favorites and, like, the best way to end it. Like, we ended on a good note even though we lost, and, like, we accomplished so much, and it was just super fun way to end it.
Very, very, very good team. You kind of mentioned a plan for Greg. Give us some insight. He just retired with 30 plus years as a police officer and
Mhm.
might seem like a tough coach, but give us the real insight of plan for Coach Dickel.
I think, like I said, the expectation thing, like, he expects 110% out of you, 120, like, whatever you have for that day, like, he expects you to give it your all, and you're held to these high expectations, but like, the way he coached me growing up is, like, how why I like, kinda like why I was led to Texas and, like, the similar, like, coaching ways and, like, the expectations and, like, how high you're held to them. And so, that's just something that really stuck out to me. And then he's tough and, like, he's gonna be real with you, but he's also gonna celebrate you and, like, just, like, kinda not taking things, like, like, in any sports, like, you can't take anything too personal, like, everything that your coach is telling you is, like, to make you better, and they're not attacking you as a person, like, they're just trying to make you a better athlete, and, like, when it's all said and done, like, they're gonna celebrate you, like, he still is one of my biggest fans, and so just taking it to, like, to heart as an athlete and not, like, as a person, and just knowing that, like, the reason they're saying this and any coach, like, the reason they're telling you this is, like, to make you better, and so he's tough, but he's gonna celebrate you, and he wants you to see you succeed. He wants you to see you succeed more than anybody else, and so I really enjoyed playing for him and, like, what he did for my career.
Love that. Love that. Well, you basically answered all my questions. So from rapid fire, but a couple just to end with, and curious if now you're getting ready for your sophomore year. Looking back a year ago, what would you tell yourself going in to start the fall?
I think it's, like, just, like, you can do it, like I said earlier, like, you can hang, like, I think I've I know it worked out fine, but, like, if I would have gone in with, like, less doubt in the fall and just kinda, like, jumped right in and embraced it and not been timid in any way, I think you can do it, just, like, trusting in yourself and believing in you and just knowing that, like, you're there for a reason and, like, just, like, doing your job, but you can do it. Don't have any doubt in yourself. Don't have any doubt in yourself ever because you can't go out there and play a game where you doubt yourself. So, just kinda trust that, like, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, like, just start off believing you can do it.
Well, you've probably spent the last, like, 10 summers playing travel ball or maybe a little bit less than that. Now, you have your first summer off. What does that look like? How are you going to spend your summer this year?
So I got back a little over a week ago, so I've just been kind of relaxing, recovering with my body and stuff. And I'll start pitching here today again because I'm going to Canada to play in the Canada Cup next week with the Triple Crown team. So I'm really excited to play. There's a couple girls from Texas on the team, and then like to play with everyone from around the country and the best of their game. And then also just like on an international stage, it'll be the first time I play international competition. And I'm really excited to see like the way different countries play the game because I know that they all have different philosophies. And so I'm really excited for that and for this opportunity. And then later I'm going to take a trip to Zion National Park. And then kind of relax probably the rest of my summer before I have to go back and maybe see a few country concerts around here and yeah, just enjoy it, be with my hometown friends that I've missed while being away.
You get to be a non-softball player. It's fun. Enjoy that part.
Yeah.
Well, Teagan, for you, what's obviously 3 more years left in college, and then hopefully well beyond that too. When you think about legacy and what you want to do for the game, what is your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be in softball?
I just kind of want to, like I said, like I want to be the person that believes in like every level of girl and no matter like where you come from, like you can do it and just like have that belief and like I don't want people to think that like having this like confidence in yourself is like a bad thing. Like you can be confident and so you can succeed your goals. But also just like at Texas, like the whole team, like we want to be the first team to win a national championship at Texas. And like, I think we can do it. And so like leaving that legacy at Texas would be really cool to just be the first team to do it. But yeah, as I just want to be known as like a good person off the field and like someone who's always going to take the time to talk to young girls or meet with them and like make sure that they're on track to pursue their goals if they want to and just give back to the game. Like one of my favorite things is like doing lessons. I love doing that and I love teaching girls how to pitch because softball can take you so many places and I don't think people realize how far it can take you. And so just like the opportunity for these girls to maybe pursue softball seriously one day is like super cool. And it's just so cool to like give back in that way.
I love it. Well, I've been a big fan, and I think that's one of my favorite parts about with the Alliance too, is getting to watch all of you guys through your travel ball careers, and now getting to meet you all as well, and watching you succeed at the next level. So, thank you very much. I think great advice for young players out there, for parents out there, and you're not far removed from it, which is really cool.
No.
To watch your journey. So thank you
Feels
very
like yesterday.
much. It goes quick,
Yeah,
right? Everybody
thank
tells you.
you. Yeah, it does. It goes super fast, especially season. This past season was so fast.
It doesn't slow down either. So I will tell you
No,
to continue to enjoy every moment. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. This was
All right,
fun.
home. Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying the Car Ride Home podcast. Hopefully we're filling the air and making your car ride home a little bit more enjoyable. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, and leave us a review. If you have any special guest or requests that you'd like to hear or have us bring a guest or a story onto the podcast, shoot us an email, info@thealliancefastpitch.com. We'd love to hear from you.